Hello and welcome to the Untitled Anarchist Seagull channel, where we are continuing to just watch absolute fucking horror unfold. And since I think all of us who are in chat probably have been paying very close attention to that, for mental health purposes, this is going to be another Respite stream. But before I say that, I'm just going to point out a couple of things that I think are important. I mean, I want to remind people of another time when, back in 2002-2003, the US was planning a genocidal war against Iraq, and millions upon millions of people filled the streets in DC, in New York, in Westminster, in Berlin. Basically, every major city was full of seas of humanity who just weren't having it. There's a lot of revisionist history that goes on that tries to suggest that everybody was backing the invasion of Iraq at the time. Everyone believed the WMD lies at the time, and it's bullshit. At the height of it, at the height of the popularity of that war in the US, it was 50-50. People were not buying any of it. George W. Bush, apart from everything else, is a man with, negative credibility. You just have to listen to the man and know he's full of shit. And millions of people, huge seas of humanity were out there to say that this war should not happen. And it had about as much of an impact as the world's quietest fart in the world's best soundproofed room. Because the thing about these marches, the thing about all that sort of action, is that it fundamentally is about appealing to the democratic instincts of institutions. It's about the ideal way that's supposed to go is that these institutions, they see that you got all these millions of people out on the street, and they look at the polls and they say, holy shit, this war crime we're thinking of doing, that's not polling well, we probably should not do that. Except it doesn't work that way. That didn't happen. That doesn't happen. The reason is that you can't appeal to the democratic instincts of institutions that don't have them. And the stakes are just so high that it is very important to just remember the failed anti-war movement of 2003. Because the problem was there was no follow-up. It was these big-ass marches. The Answer Coalition was involved in it then, too. And all they had was big fucking marches and no follow-up. Nothing, you get 1 million people together in a strategically essential place, and all you've got for them to do is sit there and buy your fucking newspaper and listen to speeches and chant slogans and then go home. And that's not how you stop something like this. If it worked that way, it would have already worked that way. We need disruption. The thing about this genocide that is unfolding in Gaza and has been escalating every single night, even as liberals are fucking saying, oh, look, Joe Biden got him to hold back a little bit. And every time, if you're listening to people in Gaza, it's like, it's getting worse every fucking night. So yeah, they're not holding back. That's bullshit. It's complete bullshit. But that genocide has a supply chain. And that supply chain runs through this country, the US, and a lot of other places. For a fucking warplane or a missile or any of the things that Israel needs to do in order to carry out this mass slaughter on behalf of the United States, workers are involved. There is a supply chain, and a supply chain is just workers, a whole lot of us. And a supply chain can be disrupted. If people refuse to on and offload the cargo headed for Israel, you can get in the way of it. If people are blocking the roads at strategic points, even for a short period of time, because it's all based on just-on-time principles, which means even short delays, even slight fuck-ups can actually have a huge impact down the line. And that's what we need. The Palestinians absolutely need there to be a second front, and the second front needs to be the rest of the world's means of production. means of distribution, the entire fucking supply chain. There is something for all of us to be doing. And, I mean, there are things you can definitely do that would be very disruptive when you get a couple of million people together in the streets. Those things definitely exist, and it takes a real failure of imagination not to notice them. Unfortunately, a lot of these marches get called by people with that precise failure of imagination. But we need to step this up. And so I just wanted to get that off of my chest, because I've been thinking this as I see all these just massive demonstrations. It's like, it's inspiring, it's lovely to see that so many people are not having this. But it would be just horrible if they just went home and thought that they'd done something and then discovered, yeah, actually it still happened anyway. And so I just wanted to get that out there before we move on to the dunking of the chuds. And I have some more of Shouty Car Asshole. He's been a great source of content in these trying times. So I think we're gonna have a look at him. And we've got stop dating single mothers. And it's like, why does he... Oh, and once again, it's gonna be one of those things where it's like, why does he care? And again, tell me if there's anything wrong with my audio, so I can make adjustments, because I keep on noticing when I'm doing the VOD, when I'm clipping everything, that it ends up looking really harsh.
And for no reason at all, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to...
This is a PSA.
A piece of shit announcement. So just let me know you're hearing everything okay.
Public service announcement to every American male
of any species? Like, should we be telling the SEALs about this?
In the world watching this video. Stop dating single mothers! Look.
Why?
Why? Do you imagine, can you imagine
the sound on this is shit. Like, I'm having trouble hearing it, and I've got the speakers right next to me.
Self-esteem that a man has to have to purposely
listen to some asshole screaming at his car about his life choices? I mean, yeah, it's really hard to believe that anyone has such low self-esteem that some dickhead yelling incoherently in a car is a source of, life coaching.
Take on another man's sloppy seconds. Wife up.
What, motherfucker, you'd be doing well to get the sloppy thirds, okay? Like, this guy, his hand won't even give him a hand job. Like, he goes and looks at, like, Dennis Prager videos, and his hand's like, yeah, I got a headache.
Or fall in love with this duck-ass single mother.
What's wrong with ducks? I love ducks. Ducks are wonderful. I like ducks better than this guy.
Her kids. Then another man planted this.
You know, why you could prepare this ahead of time, and you'd look so much more coherent.
Seed. So you're gonna raise his children for a sloppy slut? Why would you do?
Well, maybe she's not sloppy. Maybe she's very neat. Like,
do that. Listen.
Maybe that's why the guy. That's why she ended up leaving the guy. Maybe he wasn't particularly neat. Why are we assuming she's sloppy?
America, this is a fact. This is a 100% fact. You can go look this up. You can Google this if you don't believe me.
I don't believe him, and I also don't think Google will.
We have the most single mothers in America, in the United States, in the entire world. That is a 100% fact.
That really sounds like a 0% fact, I have to say. I don't... who cares?
Go look it up right now. Google it. Why is that happening? Well, for one, we have...
Oh, well, because a lot of guys suck? Actually, let me see. No, yeah, it's not single mothers, it's single parent households. Not the same thing.
Liberal divorce laws. Get that out of the way. Stupid, dumb, liberal divorce laws.
Ooh, so what you're saying is that the problem, you just made it about the guy's sloppy seconds, but when you start talking about the divorce laws, it sounds like more of the problem is that women keep leaving your ass. And I can't imagine why that would be. I mean, he's such a catch. Who does not look at this guy with his uncombed hair, screaming at his dashboard in public, and think, you know, that's a guy I'd like to spend the rest of my life with?
Women hold the power over the men because we had some weak simp judges in the past that fucked it up for us now, living now in the present time.
That's not how no-fault divorce was introduced.
Okay, so they fucked it up. So now these women are like, okay, I can easily get divorced, and I know I can find someone else because there's...
Yeah, exactly. They have standards. Why are you afraid of women having standards?
There's a simp out there that'll take care of me and my children now. Listen, the only exception to ever dating a single mother is...
Oh, I love it when there's an exception. Go on.
If her husband died, and like, let's say your wife died and you're both widow and widower, then...
Like, who... Why do you care?
And yeah, I could see you getting together. But outside of that one exception, stop dating single mothers! I see it all the fucking time. All the time. Some simp is literally like, I'm gonna step down to these wonderful kids, and I'm...
Yeah, what's wrong with that? Like, it sounds like he's happy. Like, these guys these fucking reactionary chud content creators with their high-level advice about women, I mean, it seems like they very deliberately are trying to sabotage the happiness of their audiences, like deliberately trying to make them as repulsive to women as possible. Because after all, if they're happy, if they've got a good relationship, why would they look at this asshole? You have to be pretty fucking miserable to look at this guy and think, this guy is my path to happiness. Think about just how fucked up your life would have to be that, like, this guy would be even in the top 100 of people you might turn to for any kind of advice.
So, baby, shut the fuck up! It's so stupid! It is so dumb, and you are nothing but a simp! You are a simp! You are, honestly...
Who cares?
...up the entire game for the rest of real alpha males. You're a beta!
Oh, well, okay, we got real alpha males here. That's great. The wolves in captivity.
You are a beta male!
Who cares?
You're a simp, you're a cuck for another man! He already planted a seed, you're raising his kids?
Yeah, somebody's got to raise them. It turns out they don't raise themselves.
And then let me also say this. You're like, well, you know, I'm dating a single mother, but, you know, I'm not actually raising her kids. You know, she does her little kids.
So you're being useless. You've decided to have a relationship with her, and it's like... And you're trying to be as unhelpful as possible like, okay. If that's just the relationship she wants, where she doesn't really necessarily want somebody to want all that deep a relationship right now, it's one thing. But, like... I mean, first, why, who's making excuses to this fucking guy is what I want to know.
...thing, and then me and her do our thing on the side. You're still a simp! You're still a simp!
You hear that? Shouty car guy thinks you're a simp.
Because look, even if you're not...
I'm sure they're absolutely devastated. Absolutely devastated that they have gone down in this guy's estimation.
...raising her kids, even if you're not actively, like, playing
yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, really not covert. This guy says a lot of the... I mean, this guy is like the Netanyahu of misogyny. He's just saying the quiet part right out loud.
Right now, towards the beginning of the relationship, even if you're not doing that role, you will still always come second to her. You will never be her number one. You
No, well, this guy's everybody's number 2.
will always be number 5. If she has 4 kids, you will always be number 5.
So what you're saying is that people will often put their kids first in relationships. Wow, that's terrible.
Those 4 come first, and then you're number 5. So you're automatically relegating yourself to bench player status. You will never be Michael Jordan. You will never be ducking over another player for the game-winning fucking score.
What the fuck? What? It's not a fucking bad. What does the dunking even look like in this? Like, how does that work? What's the dunking? I mean, the only dunking that's going on is me and probably quite a few other small streamers I've never heard of as well, dunking on him. Like, how? What's the relationship? Like, I mean, this guy's wanting dudes to like get their self-esteem off of dunking on their children. Is that how that's supposed to work? Wow.
Are always gonna be last. She's never gonna be like, okay, you know what? Kids are cool and I'm
Hey,
good, but
Riveroon.
I love him more now.
Yeah, that'll be restream, unfortunately.
You know, and if she does, she's a piece of shit anyway. But honestly, most single mothers are pieces of shit.
Really? I mean, how the fuck would this guy know?
But they got every excuse in the book as to why they're a single mother.
Why do they need to give you excuses? Like, who the fuck are you? Like, I mean, the obvious excuse tends to be either I got left or he sucked so I left him. This guy, he's just giving people this, offering men the best blueprint for just total misery and kids who hate you.
Oh, he was so horrible to me. He beat me and he was slapping me and cussing me out. He was so
Yeah, that sounds like somebody you should leave. I mean, what do you want her to do? Stay and kill him? I mean, then she's a widow. I mean, according to his own scheme of justifications, I mean, she's technically a widow then. So what he's saying is that if you're in a shitty relationship and you want to be dateable by the kind of guys who take advice from this fucker, what you need to do to have just an ironclad excuse for being a single mother is just take the prick out, I guess. You know, a little wood chipper in Minecraft.
He was so verbally abusive and he was so mean to me. Well, hold on a second. So, how many kids you have? Well, we have 3 children together. Oh, well, wait a minute. And how long was that going on? Well, you know, and this happened 10 years ago, and then we had a kid, and then...
It's almost like it's hard to leave, and it's almost like the guys who do this shit actually get women pregnant specifically to lock them into the fucking relationship.
Started being a little bit better for a month or 2, and I got pregnant again, and then he did it again.
She got pregnant. I love that. Like she just can do it on her own. Like, that's just like fucking asexual budding.
So you had 3 kids with a guy who treated you like that? You are dumb.
Wait, you just said you can't leave him for any reason, and now you're saying why don't you leave him? Like, which is it? You gotta make up your mind, my dude. Either you can't leave him for any reason, or you've gotta leave him. And what the fuck were you taking so much time on? Oh, Jesus Christ, this guy.
Stupid! Single mothers are stupid, and they're...
Well, the mother you're talking about in this hypothetical isn't single, though. She's in a relationship, and now you're saying she shouldn't be, but also nobody should date her. And he started out with the fact that she was single later on, which means she left him. So, like, there's literally, I mean, he's just speed running the fucking misogynistic double bind here.
Abled by our society to even be a single mother in the first place. Because look, let me tell you,
that's good, actually. That's good. I mean, actually, if anything, this society is really shitty to single parents, with no paid parental leave, no fucking paid time off. I mean, the benefits are fuck all, and very much inaccessible. Like, I mean, if anything, this country actually, the only thing that this country does to facilitate single women with children ending up single, is that it promotes a whole lot of misogyny. So a lot of women end up in relationships with complete assholes and they get pregnant by them. And then, you know, if they have any self-respect, they ultimately, if they find a chance, they leave them.
Mothers don't exist in Afghanistan.
Are you fucking kidding me? You know how many fucking widows the U.S. left in Afghanistan? Like, I mean, the U.S. fucking creates single-parent households worldwide. The U.S. is doing it in Gaza right now, because that ain't just Israel over there. Like, I mean, and this guy is actually over here talking about what? He's saying his model is the Taliban?
Husband's over there. And no dumbass, no guy that's dumb enough to be like, yeah, I'll wife up a single mother. Why not? You know, sip. Stop dating single mothers. Stop.
This guy is going to give himself a heart attack on camera sometime.
Dating single mothers. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, you're welcome, I guess. Okay, so now it is time to find the next one. Okay, I have to scroll down a little bit. Yeah, I mean, he's, like, who told this guy that anyone wants to hear what he has to say? Okay, there's Vush. Something good actually happened and also bad news. Oh, actually, I need to refresh because I added another one. We got some Caleb Muppet. We got some Vush. We've got some PragerU bullshit. We got all the bullshit here. I mean, I was thinking of, like, there's always some Vush sucking up to Biden, which aged really, really well. No, we already saw him talking about homosexualists taking over his gym. This seems really bad. Ironically, it's about the, that seems to be about the Aboriginal voice referendum in Australia, which is really interesting because, like, I mean, I guess for Vush, it's cool, the Aboriginal voice is cool because at the very least they didn't get any actual binding power to initiate or block legislation, and that's kind of all he wants for Indigenous rights. We've got Caleb Muppet talking about proletarian ideology. We got, this could become a massive problem. Any particular thoughts? I mean, there's bunches of stuff, and you can just sort of call them out. You see anything in there. Oh, I mean, here's Vush sucking up to Biden. Vush talking about do not vote third party. That could be good under the current circumstances. Okay, we're going to do Vush. We're going to do, I think, we're going to start out with do not vote third party. Because that's going to be Vush's racist liberalism at its finest. Oh, fuck off. Will I get an ad for Joe Biden telling me to donate? Fuck you, man. You want, like, seriously, not a penny should... Yeah, I wouldn't donate to that asshole to begin with. But, like, if liberals are watching, don't give that motherfucker a penny until there's a fucking ceasefire, because the U.S. can stop this. The U.S. could have prevented it. But okay, here we go. This is Bush explaining why you have to vote Democrats no matter what the fuck they do. This is going to be high-level content. See, Bush is a step up from Shouty Car Guy, because he is condescending home studio guy. But they're not all that different, fundamentally. They're both full of shit.
Do you see how Cornel West has taken on Peter Dow as a campaign manager? Peter Dow...
You know, like, Peter Dow can fuck off. Like, he's a weird guy, I have to say. Because back in, like, 2015, 2016, during that campaign, he was just the most rabid fucking Hillary Clinton stan imaginable. He also has a little history as a proud veteran of the Lebanese death squads that murdered Palestinians in the 80s. He's a piece of shit. But then he sort of pivoted, so I think he's just a straight-up opportunist.
Now, former Democratic advisor to Hillary Clinton has joined third-party candidate Cornel West's 2024 presidential campaign and as his new campaign manager. How wild is that? Expect Nina Turner to join West as VP too? Oh, God, she would. He's a political advisor, it's his job. Yeah, he shouldn't be political.
Well, yeah, he's a grifter more than anything.
Political advising for candidates that could make it more likely for Republicans to win. Twitter is so mad about this. Yeah, the funny thing is Cornel West supporters don't like it too, because Cornel West supporters are, down to a man, idiots. And they just...
Oh, well, we got a little bit of that ableism. It is Bush, after all.
Just see Peter Dow as like a Hillary...
It's Dow.
Clinton neo-lib shill, when he's like done this big leftward shift.
Yeah, and it doesn't change the fact that he's a fucking Death Squad veteran.
Advice of Jill Stein, no less. Yeah, she was the one who, like, set them up.
Yeah, and let's just say the Green Party... that is a fucked up organization. There's all sorts of fast shit in the Green Party. It's really impressive what a big tent full of just fash the Green Party's managed to have. And let's just also just get one little thing out of the way. There is absolutely no point in engaging in electoral politics at the federal level in the U.S. None. Like, you can't, an opposition party has zero chance because there's a de facto ban on opposition parties. Everything is designed to ensure that they have absolutely no look-in. The requirements are designed to make it completely prohibitive to even get on the ballot, and even if you get on the ballot in enough states, because you have to do it in each fucking state, and then the Democrats and the Republicans control the fucking debates. And the whole things are completely scripted, and they don't have to let anyone else in, and so they don't. So, it is an absolute fucking waste of time and energy, and really the best thing that we could do with these elections is sort of just give them, just ignore them, really. Ignore these fucking election campaigns, and organize against the problems we're going to be combating no matter who wins, because it's the same shit no matter who wins. Like, all of Trump's shit is still going on right now. Yeah, after fascism was defeated at the ballot box. Fascism seems to be doing pretty well for having to be defeated. Hello, Andrea.
Oh yeah, man, he left the Democratic Party, a party that can so easily dismiss sexual assault allegations and the groping of girls.
Yeah. And they both, it is true. You can't say that the Republicans are any better on that shit. They're both terrible on it. They both ran people with very credible fucking rape allegations against them in the last presidential election.
What he's referring to here is the bullshit Tara Reid accusation.
There's nothing bullshit about it. I mean, I'm not actually surprised to see Bush just sort of dismissing it, but the thing is, she told people back in the 1990s about it. There are court filings from the 1990s where she told people about it. Her neighbors at the time remember her telling people about it. Her mother called into fucking Larry King. We have the recording of it to ask what her daughter could do because a major powerful Democratic politician had essayed her. Okay? Like, all the corroboration that reactionaries were asking about when it was Christine Blasey... Oh, God, what the hell? Forget her. Blasey Ford. They were like, oh, well, it was a long time ago, and there's, like, no witnesses, and there's no corroboration, and why didn't she tell anyone and stuff? And, everybody, decent people rightly dismissed those arguments because it's bullshit. People, because there's a lot of shame around being sexually assaulted. But that's not true with Tara Reid. Like, Tara Reid has moved into some really dodgy company. That's a reality. That's fucked up. But that doesn't change the fact that there is all kinds of contemporary corroboration going back literal decades that she was telling people about this experience. Okay, we've got a spammer here on Twitch, so let me get rid of the spammer. Apparently my channel is getting enough visibility. That spam bots are again interested in it.
And also, like, Joe Biden doing the, like, creepy grandpa hand on shoulder thing as the groping of girls.
Which is what it is, Vosh. That's, like, literally what it is. It is creepy as fuck, and you can actually... And it's on camera, so you can see how uncomfortable everybody it was done to was made. I mean, so, yeah. This motherfucker likes to pose as some sort of, like... he likes to pretend to be an anarchist. And one of the great things, one of my absolute favorite things... when I really abandoned liberalism and abandoned the Democratic Party a very long time ago at this point, one of the best things was not having to defend them on this shit. Not having to defend every single bullshit thing, not having to make excuses for them. It's great, because that's a huge amount of energy that's freed up to actually stand for things that don't suck. And here's this motherfucker just, like, trying to defend this indefensible piece of shit.
He full on adopted, like, the right wing narrative on this.
It isn't the right wing narrative.
I know these people are largely grifters and idiots, but I do think...
Oh, as opposed to fucking Vosh here, he's totally not a grifter.
That it's I do think it's genuinely no.
When we lost John, we knew that it was really over.
Fucking hell!
I was talking to you.
U-Block Origin needs to bring their game up. I'm getting sick of this bullshit. Yeah, Vosh is really, really comfortable with this stuff.
How bad the Democrats have been at appealing towards a broad tent of people, that there is this gigantic shadow market of people who are trying to be like the real progressive answer to fascism.
Well, yes, because Democrats aren't that. Yeah, I mean, the people who actually are risking their asses to confront fascists in the streets, the people who aren't, like, trying to grift with it, like your little boy fucking Xanderhole and all that stuff, yeah, they literally are.
You know,
like,
the
Democrats don't offer an answer to fascism. The Democrats are complicit in it.
Don't deal with this because the Republicans are so broadly appealing to right-wingers that everyone from, like, Christian neocons to neo-Nazis are a part of their party, and they all...
Well, yes, that's the thing. When you are a party of reactionary ghouls, and you're just openly that, and that's all you appeal to, then it doesn't actually hurt to run a fucking sex pest as your candidate, because the people are kind of cool with that. They do not care. Whereas it does hurt the Democrats because most of the people who vote for Democrats aren't cool with that sort of thing. They, at the very least, as a matter of principle, think it shouldn't, that isn't an okay thing to do.
Work together. Whereas over here on the left, it's like every other day we have to hear some new grifter stand up and scream about how the Dems are not left enough, and then they go and suck their own dick so hard they're back.
The Dems aren't left. How does that make them a grifter? How is that more of a grifter position than trying to explain why supporting the Dems is actually a left position when they're doing all sorts of just fast shit? How's that work? How are you going to square that circle, Ian?
Breaks and they die. Except for brain-dead libertarians? Nope. Even the libertarians are largely being captured by the Republicans at this point. Lefties are just pickier. Yeah, but I don't even think a lot...
Well, it's called having fucking principles. See, if you have actual principles that are decent, then there is going to be a chance that you're going to be turned off by people who clearly do not share those values.
A lot of these people are lefties, you know? It's like how all these so-called lefties are just weird, like, regurgitation vessels for Putinist talking points, you know?
Oh, here we go. So if you don't like the Democrats, if you think that they suck because the only answer they've had to, like, any of the major crises we've had is to hire more fucking cops, then you must be some sort of a Russian op.
I don't think they really go for it. What are we on about, man? Yeah, there's the Cornel West banner. Our ironclad commitment. Cornel West will be on the ballot next November. There will be no dropping out and endorsing a Democrat. We're here to oppose the system, not to reinforce it.
Yeah, I mean, and that is a grift. Because the thing is, they are very much reinforcing the system just by pretending that there is any point in running a second or third party in it.
Great. Good luck getting full ballot access, by the way. The stakes couldn't be higher. Breaking the duopoly's grip will lift millions of people out of oppression and misery.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, that's not actually wrong. The fact that, the existence of a duopoly, the existence, and the fact that they very much are mutually reinforcing. It is a symbiotic relationship between Democrats and Republicans. Neither of them could control the society alone. Either of them, the wheels would fall off if they were completely, they didn't have the respective other. And breaking the power of the ruling class who are represented by those two symbiotic factions is essential if we're ever to, put an end to all this oppression and misery. That's all true, but the idea that you could do that by running a fucking Green Party candidacy is bullshit. Yeah, I know. I keep on waiting for my Putin money as well. Что? Ну, почему мне ждать, товарищ? Почему мне ждать? Я уже лет 8 ожидаю своего чека.
I really do think these guys are all grifters. I genuinely do not believe that anyone could look at our first past the post voting system and...
Well, yeah, I mean...
That...
and here, once again... The problem isn't that he's wrong that they are grifting. It is a grift. Nobody who you were either, to get into this shit, you either have to be massively naive or you're grifting. There is just because you can't look at this electoral system and think that there is any room for an opposition party. There's none. It is designed to prevent this. But, Vosh isn't a grifter? I don't see that one playing out.
Well, will do anything other than hand the election to Donald Trump. There's no way. This is a fourth grade level understanding of politics.
Except, see, I love the way that this is always done because he won't point out that actually the biggest chance Donald Trump has of winning, and this has been the case in the 2016 election, I almost said 1916, 2016 election, the 2020 election, the biggest chance that Trump has is to run these right-wing shitball candidates like Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. Joe Biden, for example, I mean, the polls are not being kind to him right now. People who vote for Democrats do not like the whole standing genocide thing, it turns out.
That you need to have to understand this. It's 100% a grift. They all take exactly the same path. Regardless where they come from, they all start repeating the exact same talking points. Political illiteracy. It's Peter Dow. He's been doing campaign advocacy and work for decades. He's not illiterate. He's just
Well, no, I mean, there is a certain political illiteracy that goes from... Like, if you base your entire life on ruling class electoral politics, you have to be somewhat politically illiterate, because you've got the idea that whatever problems perhaps you got into politics to solve can be solved there. I mean, and that requires a certain level of political illiteracy.
Making his money. He left the Democratic Party because after his failure with Hillary Clinton, he knew he wouldn't be given a job again, and now he's trying to make some money, like, grifting off of it.
Why? Since when do the Democrats care if somebody fails?
It's all grifters. None of them believe in anything. Cornel West might be deluded and old enough to believe that he's actually doing something, but all the swarm of vultures around him are just
Like, I mean, what does Vosh believe in apart from give Vosh money and white nationalism, which he's really, really cool with?
Are just trying to make money off of him on the way down. It's all grifters. Yeah, Jill Stein was the one who arranged this. It was me that brought Peter Dow.
Yeah, Jill Stein, who can also fuck off. I mean, she actually sort of promoted the bullshit anti-vax talking points about vaccines and autism and shit.
Cornel West. Because I learned how essential an experienced campaign manager is for my campaigns without one. He's the most experienced CM I know with independent/green politics and strong opposition to duology.
Yeah, strong opposition to whatever gets him a steady paycheck.
Duopoly. Yes, hello. Thankfully,
like,
again,
I mean, this guy... I mean, you have to look at what the fucking Maronite Christian militias, which were controlled by Israel, were doing back in the early 80s in Lebanon, to know exactly why this motherfucker should not be allowed. Like, I mean, the fact that because he's proud of having been a member of those militias. And, like, you want to run a campaign where the Greens occasionally pretend to be kind of anti-imperialist and stuff, and you're going to have that motherfucker in there? It's a war criminal.
Again, a lot of the people who support Cornel West are idiots, so they think that Peter Dow is just like a Hillary Clinton stan, and they think that this is him giving into the establishment. Cornel West may not be merely stupid in this. He owes $500,000 in unpaid taxes and unpaid child support.
Which that may or may not be fucking true. It's some bullshit from Bush's chat, but I would not really think that trying to run. Like, there are ways that electoral politics can make you a lot of money, but usually they do not involve trying to run a presidential campaign on the shoestring budget that you would have with the Green Party. That seems like a great way, actually, to lose money.
100% getting paid for this campaign? Yeah, probably. He's probably either taking money from, like, a right-wing PAC or from, like, Russia. One or the other.
Yeah,
he is
citation
on the board
needed.
Of some right-wing think tanks, isn't he? It's possible that he's being, like, given money that... He might not believe that that's why he's doing...
Yeah, like, he's got absolutely no fucking evidence of this. He's just sort of saying this. Like, I mean, we're talking about... These are the sort of, wild accusations that, sometimes get people killed, so... Maybe a person with a platform shouldn't just be putting that out there with no basis for it.
Doing this, but yeah, I don't know. Jill Stein is a Putin plant too, deadass. Oh, for sure, yeah. Again, it's like really cheap, you know?
Yeah, everybody who doesn't like the Democrats is just a Russian plant. Right, fuck you, man. Like, it couldn't possibly be, the problem, these liberals, they don't consider that maybe the reason that people are constantly trying to find an alternative to the Democrats is because what the Democrats do sucks, that they just don't like it, that, you know, that there are very specific things they want out of politicians, and their likelihood of supporting them will depend on that, and the Democrats keep on making it clear they're never going to get those things.
$1 million in debt is not that much to pay if you're a billionaire who wants to influence American politics. It's great. Super, super good. Can we put a moratorium on the word duopoly?
Why not put a moratorium on, like, baseless allegations of being a fucking foreign agent?
No, we're going to be hearing a lot of it.
I mean, this is just literally just a new more outside agitator bullshit.
I'm afraid. Sorry, I'm looking through Jill Stein's Wikipedia page, and I forgot that she was one of the people who was saying that Wi-Fi in schools would roast kids' brains. In a question and answer session, Stein...
Oh, I mean, Wikipedia, great source here.
...voiced concern about wireless internet in schools, saying, quote, "We should not be subjecting kids' brains, especially to that. And we don't follow the issue in our country, but in Europe, where they do, you know, they have good precautions about wireless. Maybe not good enough, you know, it's very hard to study this stuff. You know, we make guinea pigs out of...
You see, and he says this, and he's saying this to point out how ridiculous it sounds. But, I mean, that's what he sounds like when he tries to make everything about the Russians.
...populations, we discover how many die." And then later, Stein clarified her statements on Wi-Fi were, quote, "not a policy statement," and that attention to her statement on Wi-Fi was, quote, "a sign of a gotcha political system." So that's how principled she is. She'll randomly say bullshit like that, and she's like, "Oh, wow, you're gonna pay attention to me saying random stupid bullshit?"
Well, I mean, there are people who have made a career out of having people pay attention to say random bullshit. I mean, Vosh.
That's the problem with the media. And wow, wouldn't you guess it, she advocated for taking us out of NATO.
Which is a good thing, actually. NATO should not exist. Like, NATO is currently massacring the Kurds again in Rojava. NATO is genociding Gaza. NATO has destroyed, has plunged entire regions into war in the past 20 years. Like, fuck NATO.
Criticized NATO's eastward expansion, saying that we've encircled Russia, how we're doing the Cuban Missile Crisis in reverse, where we have surrounded Russia with missiles and nuclear weapons and NATO troops.
I mean, she's not wrong there. And all you have to do is just test how the U.S. would react if the situation were reversed. If Canada and Mexico decided to join a military alliance that was led by Russia or China or both somehow, and, you know, Russian troops were having exercises on the southern or northern U.S. border, do you think that the U.S. government would be cool with that? They'd be like, "Oh, that's that's a way to exercise your sovereignty, Canada and Mexico. We don't agree, but of course it is your right as sovereign countries to decide who to ally yourselves with." No, there would be fucking coups in fucking Ottawa and Ciudad de Mexico.
When asked about Russian military policy in Crimea and Ukraine, Stein answered, "Well, you know, Russia used to own Ukraine."
Which is wrong. The Soviet Union did, and the Soviet Union isn't Russia.
So, let's just stop pretending there are good guys and bad guys here. Yeah, Russia does a lot of human rights abuse, but you know what? So are we.
Yeah, and that actually, what you can say there is that she really understates the degree to which the U.S. massively exceeds the atrocities being committed by anyone in the world, because nobody else is technologically capable of committing the level of atrocities that the U.S. commits in the world. Like, I mean, it's not like some fundamental moral difference that leads to this. It is capability. If you gave Russia that, they'd be doing the same shit, same kind of shit on the same level. But, yeah.
When asked by Politico if she thought Putin was a despot, Stein answered, "To some extent, yes, but there could be a whole lot worse. When we needlessly provoke him and endanger him, I wonder where she got her money from."
Well, the thing is, what she's saying here was a mainstream... If you look at, like, foreign policy debates in the late 1990s in the U.S., what she's saying was a mainstream position. A lot of people, like, total foreign policy establishment types, said This is going to cause instability. This is actually making life difficult for the pro-US opposition in Russia, because even the pro-US opposition in Russia is very wary of the US trying to just take over. If you can go back, like, when NATO expansion was first up for debate, back in the 90s, what she's saying was a total mainstream position.
I wonder why so many people who are just outside of the mainstream political base just
are critical of U.S. foreign policy. Like, I mean, this is the same bullshit that you find this everywhere. You find this in Russia. Like, I listen to a Russian Marxist-Leninist who he has a very good YouTube channel. It's in Russian, but they're English subs. He's called Andrei Rudoy. And he has a channel called Vestnik Buri, the Messenger of the Storm, and it's a good channel. And because he's highly critical of Putin, because he's highly critical of the war propaganda and the war, Russia is America-gating him. Because you see, I mean, the thing is that it's not just Russia. It's not just like that the U.S. does, fucking Russia-gate and just does what he's doing and just declares anyone who points out that there's something wrong with U.S. foreign policy of being a Russian agent. They're doing the exact same shit in Russia to the exact same sort of people. Like, Russian leftists are also being accused. And I'm not saying Jill Stein is a leftist, at best she's a liberal. But, like, critics of the war there are also being accused of being foreign agents, no matter what position they come from, and no matter how very clearly critical they are of the U.S. as well. I mean, this bullshit goes on both sides, because most people in this country only know English, and Russian isn't a widespread language. Most people have absolutely no idea how much what is going on in Russia and here is mirrored in Russia.
For some reason, adopt word for word identical talking points on every issue tangentially associated.
Well, yeah, the thing is, if you follow this logic here, I'm being charitable in calling it logic, like, the majority of the world adopts these criticisms. Like, the U.S. is not a popular country. The so-called international community, the handful of countries that go along with whatever the U.S. does. I'm getting that link for you right now. Vestnik Buri. He has a great video on Nazbols and a great video on what a fucking dickhead Dugin is in particular. And there we go. Vestnik Buri. He does some debate streams. Let me see. I'm just gonna link some of his better stuff on here, actually. Гид по частной собственности для Вестника Бури. Yeah, that's a response stream. Учебник медицинского. Okay, he also is a rapper occasionally. Октябрьская революция, настоящий Троцкий. I'm finding some of the best stuff that I've seen on there. Okay. He had an interesting thing on the social credit system in China. He's also very critical of China. Let me see. Освобождение, псы войны, история ЧВК. Рудой, Nadzboly. Okay, here we go. Here is his a video he did on Nazbols, on the OG Nazbols. Путинский фашизм на экспорт. Когда будут революции. Западная propaganda. A thing on Western propaganda, because he's also quite critical of the U.S. But that doesn't matter, because he's critical of Russian foreign policy. and therefore, the Russian government has declared him a fucking foreign agent, like the U.S. is doing to people here. Here we go. Here we go. Dugin Skamarokh Russkого fascisma. Which is, it's great. It's just what a complete, how completely full of shit Dugin is. Like, Dugin got his, I mean, he likes to parade his doctorate around. He got it from a diploma mill. And an actual physicist actually read his dissertation that he wrote, pointed out that actually he just uses terms wrong.
That's so interesting. She claimed the U.S. helped foment a coup in Ukraine,
which is factually accurately. She was critical of the Ukrainian government formed after the Revolution of Dignity, which is what that regime calls itself. It's worth noting, and they just sort of use that term as if it's a neutral term, claiming that ultra-nationalists and ex-Nazis came to power. The only thing wrong with that statement is that they weren't ex-Nazis, they were current Nazis. Like, a lot of, I mean, you had Nazis whose parties had never been actually voted for by anyone, and suddenly they had cabinet posts and stuff. Yeah, I mean, I don't really... China is state capitalism on steroids. But on the other hand, because of their model of state capitalism, it takes sort of a long-term view on some things, which is why they are one of the countries that didn't comprehensively fuck up the pandemic response. Unlike the US, where the long-term is fucking where the long-term is just next quarter.
U.S. should not arm it. She was critical of the Ukrainian government formed after the Revolution of Dignity, claiming that ultra-nationalists and ex-Nazis came to power. Which
is something that actually a lot of Ukrainian leftists say, but, I mean, this is Wikipedia, so they're just gonna kind of pretend. Like, one of the biases of Wikipedia is that they will not, yeah, I mean, when you watch the Dugin video, I mean, I hope this has English subs. I speak Russian, so I just watch it in Russian. But, I mean, you could see just how completely full of shit this guy is. He is, like, I mean, he is a kindred spirit of Caleb Maupin. Oh yeah, I mean, Dugin says nothing of substance. He's just a fascist. And an empty shirt. Which is, I mean, Caleb Maupin, you can see the attraction.
She attended a banquet also attended by Vladimir Putin, which celebrated the 10th anniversary of the Russian state-run television network RT. While in Russia, she criticized U.S. foreign policy.
Oh God, she criticized U.S. foreign policy? Like, who gives, like, why, I mean, he is so telling on himself by acting like that's some sort of a gotcha. Guess what? Nobody likes U.S. foreign policy. Like, I mean, if you go outside of the fucking Imperial Core bubble, even, like, the stuff that is considered extreme, and guys like this will, accuse you of being a Russian agent for saying, it's just, like, normal stuff that people will say, because the U.S. is an extremely unpopular country. And it's nothing, I mean, the only place where who's president makes a really big difference on whether how much people hate the U.S., is really in the Imperial Core. In the rest of the world, the places that have really felt the receiving end, the business end of U.S. imperialism in Latin America, in the Middle East especially, people don't like the U.S. and don't want the U.S. anywhere near their countries, no matter who's running it.
And human rights in the U.S. Just totally normal, not Russian asset things. Going over to attend the celebration anniversary of the 10th year of RT.
This guy needs to just stop pretending that he's any kind of anarchist. I mean, I guess he's kind of done pretending, although sometimes he will still, like, pretend that he has some sort of anarchist sympathy. I mean, because all he's doing here is just standing U.S. foreign policy.
And then
I mean, if taking views on U.S. foreign policy that are contrary to the interests of the U.S. ruling class makes you a Russian agent, doesn't that, by that logic, wouldn't that make Vosh a fucking U.S. government agent? Because he's just standing U.S. foreign policy here? I mean, I'm not saying that's true, because it's a bullshit thing. It's bullshit logic. It's absolutely wrong, and those sorts of accusations should not be thrown around without evidence. But, I mean, if we're going to accept his really extremely shitty argumentation here, then it is entirely fair to say that he is a CIA op. I mean, this is like literally, this is actually a stronger argument than fucking Caleb Muppet had, which was basically zero argument for calling him that. I mean, Muppet said it based on nothing. But here, if we use Bush's own logic, it is impossible to simply come to an opinion on U.S. foreign policy because one has certain values and becomes aware of certain things and either supports them or opposes them. Obviously, one way or another, it's just that everybody who opposes U.S. foreign policy must be getting money from U.S. official enemies, and that sort of logic couldn't possibly end anywhere bad.
Casually critiquing U.S. foreign policy and praising, just totally normal stuff. Jill Stein explains her plan to stop Trump by electing him president.
We're going to just pretend that Jonathan Chait, just a far-right troll, is a great source on this.
A Green Party presidential nominee, the one who came before...
and she is dodgy as fuck. I mean, when I say that the Green Party has a lot of fashion, Cynthia McKinney is a good example. I mean, she's, like, friends with all the top fash.
Jill Stein. And she is a full-on Nazi. Oh, here's the...
Yeah, like post. Ken O'Keefe, for example. Ken O'Keefe is a big fan of David Duke, the KKK guy.
Truth about colonialism in Africa. She recently promoted a Unity live stream where a black Nazi and David Duke.
Yeah, I mean, dodgy fucking people. Well, after all, the U.S. is made up of... the U.S. is foreign. It is a foreign element in the region in which it became a colonial presence. I'm probably a Russian agent for saying that. Nie takli.
Asked, can we unite in order to defeat the real enemy? And then under real enemy, there was a gigantic Jewish star.
Yeah, exactly. She's dodgy as fuck. I mean, the Green Party is dodgy as fuck. Like, every, decent person I ever knew who ever was an activist for the Green Party, I will say I voted for Nader in 2000. Or in 99. I voted for Nader in 99. Because he was the only marginally acceptable thing on the menu. But, I mean, everybody I know who was ever associated with the Green Party has just left in disgust over the years.
She deleted that, yeah, but everyone saw it. I quote tweeted it as well. How Jewish is the war against Russia? The most important and fundamental question you can ask.
Yeah, and that's uns.com. That's a Nazi site. I mean, which is great because, I mean... you have, vicious anti-Semites being lionized in Ukraine, and you have, massive anti-Semitism coming from some of the dodgier people who are against the current regime in Ukraine. It's wonderful. It's a great time to be Jewish. No notes.
Ask yourself. So, again... The Green Party 2008 presidential candidate pinned post praising Putin and a full-on neo-Nazi. The presidential nominees for 2012 and 2016 were Jill Stein, who, again, word for word repeat of...
I mean, his problem with Jill Stein is that she says some really kind of basic and obvious facts about U.S. foreign policy.
All Russian talking points on the subject, just line in line, no deviation, attends banquets in Russia to criticize.
Like, she says the U.S. had a policy of domination instead of international human rights and diplomacy. Like, I can cite fucking U.S. policy documents that use that talk about how the U.S. goal of foreign policy in the U.S. is world domination, and just completely dismiss things like international law, human rights, and diplomacy. Like, I mean, you can check out George Kennan, who was one of the top, like, liberals in the White House foreign policy establishment in the 50s and 60s, who was already talking about how the U.S. was eventually going to have to abandon ideological slogans and deal in straight power concepts, and that pretending to care about things like human rights and raising living standards would just get in the way. And stuff like that. I mean, the things she's saying are just such really fucking basic things, and he is so telling on himself when he acts like this is some sort of a gotcha.
American foreign policy while celebrating RT. Then Howie Hawkins went and did nothing, and now we have Cornel West, who is also repeating those talking points about Ukraine, surrounded by grifters who are making the exact same talking points.
Hey, folks.
Fuck off. Hey, folks, our fundraising... yeah, shut the fuck up. Get the fuck off my screen. I need your support to reach our goal of a population of 0 in Gaza. Like, seriously, fuck this guy. The chain of command in the Israeli military does not end in Israel. It ends in Washington, and this guy is the guy who has decided on day one and every single day of this horrible fucking massacre not to put an end to it. He could do it with a phone call. Israel doesn't have an air force without the U.S. Fuck this guy.
This
grassroots driven campaign. Fuck you, man. That is, I mean, good, we can skip ad.
And it looks
it's
like
a bonus dunk. It's like a bonus dunk here.
I wonder if there's some kind of pattern here. This is the link you're looking for? Oh yeah, here we go. And black people and white...
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and there's a book there. I mean, it's really, really fucking mask off here. Look at this fucking book at the bottom left here, where the title of the book is Jews Are the Problem. Yeah, I mean, I was one of the people who was very early on trying to raise awareness of just how dodgy the people in the Green Party were accepting this, in hopes that people within the Green Party would say, holy shit, yeah, this is fucked up. And instead they said, no, this is cancel culture. You shouldn't be, like, using guilt by association, when what they meant was that we shouldn't be associating people with the views that they themselves expressed. Yeah, genociding with Biden, like, seriously, fuck that guy. Justin Trudeau couldn't walk down the street today because of all the protesters yelling at him because of his support for genocide. And I think we need to see more of that. I think these motherfuckers, like, fuck history judging them. Give them an advance on that. They should not get a moment's peace.
The people work together to defeat our common enemy, Ayo Kimathi and David Duke. And if this was too subtle for you, the book down here in the corner just says Jews are the problem. And this, the 2008 presidential nominee for the...
Visibility limited. This post may violate Twitter's rules against hateful conduct. May. Wow, yeah, I mean, it's a fucking mystery. It's as much of a mystery as who blew up that fucking hospital.
Green Party says, I know where I'll be and what I'll be watching at 6 p.m. Eastern Time today.
Yeah, she's dodgy as fuck. And you don't need to bring in all sorts of Russia bullshit in order to point that out. It doesn't strengthen the argument. You can just point out that what they say sucks. What she says sucks. She's like backing literal David Duke.
Very leftist party, by the way. Excellent. Yeah, this was on 9/11.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can... the thing is, Vosh, you can't say that. You don't get to critique the Green Party for not being a very leftist party when you're standing the Democrats. You can't do that. That does not work. Because the Democrats are not fucking... the Democrats are worse, actually. These people would theoretically be really bad. These people, you know, but the Democrats and the Republicans, they have actual power and they use it. Like, these motherfuckers create propaganda that encourages the rise of fascism. Democrats and Republicans provide the means for those fascists to act. And you can't claim to be criticizing the reactionary shit like this if you're at the same time standing the Democrats.
9/11. The Green Party is about as left-wing as the Republican Party is. There is no reason whatsoever...
Or the Democratic Party, for that matter.
...to support her. This image is so funny, though. Yes, it is. Bonus, she retweeted the only thing the establishment fears. Oh my god, she retweeted the meme image? Yes! That Ayo Kimathi guy is extremely homophobic. The Nazi who wrote a book called The Jews Are Responsible is extremely homophobic. Is that...
like...
true? Anyway, guys, vote for the Green Party to break the duopoly, okay? Pay no attention to the non-stop constant incompetence, the fact that everyone associated with the party is either a Nazi or, like, clearly an asset of the state of...
Yeah, clearly because they are critical of U.S. foreign policy. Like, I have no time for Jill Stein. Jill Stein can fuck off. But what she said about U.S. foreign policy is just really basic shit. That's weird. If there were some sort of widget that I could use that would be more reliable than Restream, like just a Restream chat window, I would use it, but I just am not finding one.
Russia. Don't worry about it, okay? Cornell West will definitely break the duopoly. It's definitely not a paid effort orchestrated by... Hey, guys, hey, here's something interesting. Notice how you stopped hearing about RFK Jr. as soon as Cornell West started getting louder entering the race? Isn't that...
Well, I maybe that had something to do with the fact that, you know, RFK Jr. just decided to go full-on anti-Semitic in a way that was a little bit awkward, and then this genocide happens, and that's all anyone is focused on at the moment?
That interesting. You did, didn't you? Oh, now you're remembering, huh? The exact same way that critical race theory stopped being talked about right around the time they started talking about, like, wokeness in schools and, like, trans stuff. Just one paid effort to subvert and, like, pull votes away from Joe Biden? Oh, well, that...
Yeah, I mean, the critical race theory stuff is totally about pulling votes away from Joe Biden. It's targeting people who would never vote for him in the first place.
That didn't work too well, because RFK Jr. is, like, a legit lunatic and can't keep his mouth shut.
Yeah, and that's a guy who the Democratic Party thought would be a nice person to allow to participate in their primary, potentially. Like, you can't, I mean, you literally, his entire critique, the only difference between R-Fuck Jr. and the fuckers he was just talking about is that R-Fuck Jr. actually supports U.S. Imperialist genocidal foreign policy, and these pricks, like, the one thing you can say for them is they're against that. I mean, like literally R-Fuck Jr. Defeats his entire argument because he's one of the Democrats.
Filmed talking about, like, Jewish bioweapons at a banquet. So that's not going to work. Oh, time to go with Cornell West. Let's get him Peter Dow, you know? Oh, he's...
Oh, wait, so how far does this conspiracy go? So you're saying the Democratic Party is in on it because R-Fuck Jr. could not be doing any of that. if the Democratic would not have been a topic if he did not have enough pull within the Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party was cool with him to allow that to happen. The Democrats control their own primary mechanisms.
Okay, 500,000.
I mean, it's the same thing with Bernie Sanders. If they decided to say, we don't allow anyone in our primaries who is not, like, an official member of the party or something like that, they could do that. And they could just, if they didn't want Sanders in there, they could kick him out. They let him in. They let him in because he actually makes it look like there's a reason for, like, most people to give a shit about who's in the Democratic Party.
Dollars in unpaid taxes and child support. Better whoop.
And I mean,
offer them
speaking
some
of
money,
like
Anyway,
piss weak shit about genocide. Seriously, I mean, he's pathetic.
That's neat. I think that's cool personally. I think that everything is going great.
Okay, so we are closing in on it. It's almost 1 o'clock. I think we've got some time for another short one in here, possibly. What have we got? Bizarre attack on Jackson Hinkle. Every single British person despises me now. Ooh. Okay. Well, we'll look a little bit at I Am Dark Brandon's strongest acolyte. You know, totally normal leftist position to take there. Totally normal, just leftist position there to be taking is that you're the strongest acolyte of a guy who got into politics to oppose the civil rights movement and campaigned the whole time as a true conservative and hung out with fuckers like Strom Thurmond and Jesse Helms and Trent Lott. Yeah, totally normal, just, I mean, absolutely unquestionable leftist position to be taken there. But we're not going to get very far in this because it's already 10 till 1. Now I turn back into a seagull at 1. So, but if it looks like it's promising, maybe we'll come back to it tomorrow.
How are you?
Doing great. All right. Would you remind me what it is you emailed me about?
Of course. I'm here to talk about electoralism and in the hopes of maybe swaying your position on electoralism.
Okay. I mean, so the question is, what is the position on electoralism?
As adequate means for fighting fascism in America. And if we can get to it, I'd also like to talk about your take on sex work.
Sure.
Okay. This seems like it could be promising, actually. I'm interested.
Well, I can cut you off right here at the front. I don't think it's an adequate means to fight fascism on
It's just the only means to fight fascism that he shows any interest in.
its own. I think it's a necessary prerequisite for delaying fascist takeover, though.
Yeah, and that isn't true either.
I would have to also disagree with that. I think that,
Okay, promising. I don't know who this is who's calling in. The Dark Journalist channel is some kind of conservative tinfoil hat stuff. Okay, I'm gonna have to... Okay, Dark Journalist. Oh, wait, I have to switch my keyboard layout because I had it on Russian for Vyesny Woody. Okay, I will be checking that out tonight and tomorrow, see if there's anything interesting on there. Thank you for the tip. I've never heard of that channel.
So my position is that liberals are very, very useful to the anti-fascist movement, and in fact, I think that that's the best thing that liberals can do is resist fascism.
Yeah, I would say it kind of depends, because the trouble with liberals is that they often aren't entirely reliable. Like, liberals were kind of were willing to go a lot farther in resisting fascism back when the face of fascism was Donald Trump exclusively. Now that it's a little bit more complicated and you got fucking Joe Biden, who is also very much fomenting fascism, now all of a sudden it's a little bit more complicated and nobody wants to hurt Joe Biden's chances because everybody knows nobody actually likes him. So, like, if he loses even one vote, it could be the end. And it's like, why the fuck would the DNC run this motherfucker? He's extremely unpopular.
But I also think that the DNC, at least on the national level, is extremely bad at fighting fascism, and I don't think that that's like an issue with the DNC that can be fixed.
They're not bad at fighting fascism. They're not fighting fascism. I mean, for all we know, they could be great at fighting fascism if they ever chose to do it. They're not. All they are doing is trying to grift votes off of people's fear of fascism without actually even promising to do anything that might stop it. In fact, their messaging in 2020 was very much demonizing people who are actually trying to do something about the threat of fascism in this country. Like, so I don't think it's that they're bad at it, it's that they don't want to do that.
And I'll explain why, but I'd like to hear your position.
Well, I don't think they're particularly good at it. It's just absolutely necessary that fascists not win the presidential election, or ideally any election. It's not a matter of promoting the DNC as an effective Antifa organization or anything like that. It's just, them winning is significantly better than Republicans winning. So,
as you can tell from the fact that there hasn't been any significant fascist gain since Joe Biden got in. I mean, it's not like there are massive efforts to criminalize just fucking basic grassroots organizing tactics in Georgia, for example. It's not like there's this onslaught of laws that are criminalizing the existence of trans people that have caused over 200,000 people to be internally displaced in this country. Like, I mean, you can't make this argument in 2023, my dude.
So even through their incompetence, they have to.
So,
to which I would add, also don't trust Lenin because the same reason.
May I ask then, what would be a good way of resisting fascism alongside...
But I mean, he wasn't wrong there.
The DNC.
Well, a lot of it is just changing people's opinions on the issues. The less susceptible people are to fascist rhetoric, the less powerful fascists are.
Yeah, but the trouble is that does not actually work with trying to support Democrats in elections, because the Democrats actually agree with the fascists on a lot of things, including the idea that the people that we should be worried about are the people who have anti-racist uprisings and fuck up fascists, rather than say fascists. Like, the people who see every single major crisis in the society and their only answer is to throw more cops at it are not people that you can win people over with anti-fascist talking points, because they're just going to find that the people that you're trying to sell them on also agree with a lot of fascist talking points. I mean, this is, it's kind of not fair to bring this up as a counterpoint to what he's saying, but I mean, look at the number of people who, after that Waffen-SS Nazi-ass veteran got a standing ovation in the House of Commons in Canada just recently, how many of those motherfuckers who were actually saying, oh, it's not so bad to be in the Waffen-SS, it doesn't make you anti-Semitic, it doesn't mean that you're a mass murderer or something like that, just to be in the Waffen-SS, which yes, it fucking does. One of them was the official, the literal German government issued a statement saying being in the Waffen-SS doesn't make you anti-Semitic or far-right. And all those motherfuckers are now, justifying just Nazi shit in Gaza right now. And calling people anti-Semitic, and it's like, no, you lost the right to do that the minute you defended somebody being in the Waffen-SS. You no longer have any purchase in the fucking anti-Semitism accusation cinematic universe. That is the carnal, that is the lava you cannot fucking touch. Yeah, the Waffen-SS. Yeah, I mean, this guy, he was, and they knew it was, because the Speaker of the House of Commons introduced him, saying he was a Ukrainian who fought against the Soviet Union in World War II. It's like, there's literally only one side that you could be on to be fighting against the Soviet Union in World War II. And yeah, he was a well-known, actually so well-known that the University of Alberta, which is kind of a job creation program for Nazi collaborators from Ukraine, like, I mean, all sorts of top Ukrainian Nazis ended up getting posts there after the war. And they are, at the moment, like a major mill of, like, Holocaust revisionism as a result of it. There's a scholarship named after this fucker. He was well known. And, you got a standing ovation, and Justin Trudeau was right there, and fucking Zelensky was right there. And then, instead of saying, wow, that was fucked up, nobody should have done that, what we got was editorials saying, no, that's just Russian propaganda that the Waffen-SS are so bad, and it's like, just because you're in the Waffen-SS doesn't make you a Nazi. It's like then the word has no fucking meaning. Yes, it fucking does. And on that note, thank you to everyone who's joined in. I hope you enjoyed the stream, and I hope to hear your recommendations in the Discord, and I hope to see you tomorrow night. Have a good rest of your night, and free Palestine. From the river to the fucking sea. I don't know, I get my ideas of what hell's like from The Good Place, and there's 100% less Ted Danson in my life. So, I mean, I think not. I think this is just Earth